the show today. Now, new research by the Co-op shows that women without support in the workplace are far likelier to experience increased anxiety, depression, and a lack of confidence. The data also shows that around a quarter of women have left their jobs. And this is something that Lotta touched on as well. When you've got all of these symptoms about the menopause and you've got anxiety and you think you're bad at your job, it can, of course, escalate. Now, Gen M is an organisation which works with employers to make sure women are properly supported through the menopause at work. Heather Jackson is the co-founder, and she joins me now. Heather Jackson, welcome to the BBC.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much on behalf of all the women and all those impacted by menopause that you're actually raising and platforming the issue today, so thank you very much for that.
It's our pleasure. The aim on the show here is to keep the conversation on the things that matter most to all of us across the capital city. And now, according to the statistic as well, it's affecting a lot of people. It matters to so many people. The data showing that around a quarter of women have left their jobs. Why is that such a high figure?
Well, let's be honest here. It's not down to the workplace. It's down to the fact that we don't know enough about menopause. We're not educated enough on it, and we're not prepared for it. We spent years with changing cultures to allow women to rightfully take their place at the top. Not once have we really thought about the menopause and how that impacts us in that transition from, the 48 symptoms of menopause that are out there when most women only know between 3 and 5. So normalising the conversation is really important, and actually then getting the education and the preparation to ensure that women have the best experience of menopause and can be the best version of themselves at any point in this transition is what we all need to aspire to.
So Heather, talk me through this, please, if you will, and excuse my ignorance, because obviously this is not something that I'm experiencing yet, although I know it's to come. What's the connection between women not being supported at work and the menopause? Is it about anxiety about doing their jobs, about not performing in those kind of time periods when they're dealing with so many of those 40 plus symptoms that you spoke about in the menopause? Tell me about the link a little bit more.
Okay, well, the link is the fact that by the time you're 40, most women will be showing at least 3 signs of perimenopause. And actually, we're the biggest growing demographic in the workplace at the moment, women over 40 in the workplace. And we're the first generation of women to have the chance to live longer post-reproduction than pre-reproduction. And so it's really important that companies understand and support it better. But let's not blame companies right now, because none of us have got it right. We as women don't know enough about menopause. The doctors are only just getting on board with it, and the government. And so workplace is important, but as a sum of all parts, it's not a gender issue. It's not a medical issue per se or a workplace issue. It's a sum of all parts, and we must, as a society, understand it better wholly, not just at work, but at home as well, to really make that menopause experience better.
So Heather, talk to me a little bit, because I'm thinking about the workplaces that I've worked in, the offices, the various different industries. Never, ever has any boss, manager, management team had any kind of conversation in the workplace about the menopause. What does supporting women who are going through the menopause in the workplace look like? What do we need to see employers and managers doing?
Well, managers and everyone, I'd say employees as human beings, need to understand it better for their work colleague, their partner. And actually, that's where we can talk about the Co-op, who are one of our founding partners of Gen M, as we've partnered with the biggest brands to actually change this atmosphere. They've produced a guide for managers, not just for the 60,000 employees of the Co-op, but also that they've now given it, as of today, to any company that wants better guidance for their managers and how they can support women and those in menopause going through it, and whether it be about training, whether it's about understanding, because much of it, when you read it, is common sense, but the only common sense and human being approach to it is knowing the 48 symptoms and knowing from the physical, the mental to the emotional problems that someone could be going through. Because let's remember, not all women will have all 48 symptoms, not all women will have bad menopauses, but actually there are some women who will need more support, like having air conditioning or a cool fan in the room, being able to, if they've got bad sleeping patterns, be able to possibly occasionally phone up and say, look, I've had a really bad night's sleep, can I work from home or can I come in a bit later? It's that understanding of the general living through menopause that we need to understand and appreciate and support better.
And tell me, Heather, why are access to things like menopause clinics so important? Because I've never heard of them before.
Yeah. Well, menopause clinics and any support to menopause is the fact that now, as I said, more women than ever before. There's 15.5 million women at any one point in the UK going through menopause. And because now it's no longer a taboo subject, thanks to the likes of people like Davina McCall and Louise Newsom and Dan Danzerbrook and even Caroline Harris as well, bringing out the understanding of it, that when we actually thought that women were actually wanting to leave organisations because of the culture and because, you know, they just had enough, actually, many of it was the symptoms of the menopause, because I've spent the last 20 years working with D&I teams within organisations to change cultures of business to allow more women to go forward. And would you be surprised to learn now that even though the cultures have changed, we've still got a high level of women of 40 plus leaving organisations, and it's because they just are losing the confidence, getting more anxious and overwhelmed, and they haven't related it to the fact this is a hormone imbalance rather than a transition, just as much as puberty. You know, if you imagine when we were going through puberty, you know, we were monosyllabic, we didn't want to talk to people, we were spotty, we just had days where we just felt fatigued. Well, try being a 50-year-old woman getting that, and actually no one's there to support you or understand it. This is just a transition that we need to actually explore better and understand it. It's not a disease, and nor should women or anyone around them fear it. But actually, we should acknowledge that this is something, and it can last up to 10 years. So this is not something you're going to go through overnight and think, oh, well, it's a bit bad at the moment, but it'll be over and done with soon.
Right. This
so we've
long.
got to support it. Absolutely.
It's a long haul.
Please, I know you're going to enter it one day, but please don't be fearful of it. You know, you wouldn't enter a marathon in a pair of slippers. You'd train for it, you'd prepare for it, you'd eat the right food, you'd do the right exercise, you'd buy the right kit. Menopause is the biggest marathon you're ever going to enter into. And so what we need is your generation of women being better prepared and understanding it to be able to support themselves. And then, you know, like, let's be honest, we didn't go to the doctors to find out about puberty. We shouldn't need to go to the doctors to find out about menopause, but only go to the doctors if our symptoms get really bad. We need to understand this better so we can allow ourselves, and we as women deserve to have a better experience of it for ourselves and those around us. So it does mean a lot that companies like Marks and Spencer's, like Corp, like Boots, like Holland & Barrett are all coming together under Gen M to actually unite to understand it and serve it better for colleague and consumer alike. But we as women have a role to play as well. We have a role to understand it better for ourselves and the next generation down too. So, you know, I look forward to you enjoying your menopause much more than I enjoyed mine.
The never-ending delights of womanhood. I mean, I'm not safe to make a decision when I'm on certain days in my cycle, let alone being in the menopause, to be honest. Heather,
but let's look positively. Come the end of your menopause, come the menopause, we'll have no more cycles whatsoever. Just think you've got years ahead of you without a period. How exciting is that?
Well, I will look forward to it, Heather Jackson, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely chatting.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.
Take care of yourself. There you go. Lots to look forward to, or for some women who are already wading in the waters of it. Now, lots coming up on the show. We've still got, of course, our resident quiz somewhere in London. It's coming up right after the news. But first, let's head over to Will Schindler.
On the BBC Sounds app, on your smart speaker,
play BBC Radio London,
and on your radio.
The sound of London is BBC Radio London.
At 3 with the latest for London, I'm Will Schindler. 2 British volunteers feared captured by the Russian military in Ukraine. 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 Military in Ukraine.